whole life insurance and the indexed feature, right? So this is not an indexed universal life. You know our thoughts on that. So this is a whole life policy with one of the 4 major mutual companies, which we recommend to everyone and anyone, but we have an index feature, right? This is only available through one of the big 4 companies, which is Guardian, by the way. The other ones may roll it out in the future, maybe not, not quite sure. But that index feature is actually something that I can switch back and forth with between the dividend and then obviously the index piece, which is the S&P 500. Right? So firstly, how it works, right? That's what I want to understand. Like, what is different between this and a whole life insurance policy? All right, so if I take a basic policy, right, I've got a couple components, right? Well, Guardian has this, so we'll just focus on them for this example. Is I have a guaranteed floor of 4%. Right? And because it's a whole life insurance policy, that guarantee will always outweigh my insurance expenses. No matter what happens, my values go up. That's the most important piece, the biggest differential between a whole life and an indexed universal or any universal life insurance policy. My guarantees exceed my insurance expenses, whereas with a universal life, no matter what, my insurance expenses exceed my guarantees. So here, I've got the guarantee of 4%. Guardian's total dividend rate is presently 5.85%. So what that means is they declared a surplus of 1.85%. Add the two together, what do you got? 585. And that's their dividend rate. It's been there for 3 years in a row. Okay, how this index feature works though is instead of receiving the basic dividend surplus, I can elect to have all of my funds, right, above the guarantee, so I still get that no matter what, tied to the S&P 500 index. Right? And how this works, right? Indexing is if the market goes up, I go up with it, a percentage, I participate in a percentage of it, and if the market goes down, I still get my guaranteed 4%. Right? So S&P goes up, I go up with it. S&P goes down, I still get 4%. On the upside, there are some limits. Guardian has what is called a cap rate. We're going to show you this on their software. This is presently 12.5%. Guardian does reserve the right to adjust this, lower it. The lowest, the guarantee, the lowest that can ever be is 8% on the cap. If I ever exercise this feature, whether it's partially or fully, on any money that I exercise the index feature on, there is a 2% charge. So that would, in effect, bring my guarantee down to 2% is what it would do. Let's demonstrate through some software, right? So what we have here first is a 35-year-old male, very simple option or example we're going to look at here. 35 years old. First, we're going to look at a basic dividend-paying whole life insurance policy. He pays in $30,000, right, for 5 years. He can keep paying if he wants to, but he doesn't. There's my cash break-even point, just about year 4. Is that big enough there? The 120? Thanks. So I've paid a 120. I've got 120. I can continue to pay in if I want, but I don't. I just let it sit and grow over time. That's my basic dividend rate. What I want to do is compare this to the index feature to see, okay, what it does at the end of the day is just give me more potential on my earnings. Borrowing, the banking concept, that's all the same here. This index feature, again, is just a means to increase my earnings potential. So before we look at the comparison here, here's what I want to look at. Is right here, we've got the index feature. You might want to zoom in on this piece if it's too small. Right, so index participation feature, a couple things, and I'll write next to it as well, is we can actually select what percentage of our cash we want linked into the index here. Here we've got selected 100%. We see we can pick 0, 25, 50, 75. I can make it 31, right? We can make it whatever we want here. The point is that I do not have to pick the index or the dividend option. If I want to put 50% of my money into the dividend, right, I'm going to get that basic 5.85% crediting rate. If I have the other 50 in the index, that means I'm going to get whatever the S&P 500 index delivers that year. And that is adjustable one time per year, every year, right? On my policy anniversary date is when I can actually adjust where the money goes, right? So I can switch it on and off, which is nice. Indexed crediting rate, what I want to illustrate on an illustration. Is that a double negative? I think it is. Right, so I've got maximum illustrative rate, 8.48%. So the company will not allow you to illustrate any higher than that. Now, the thing about that 8.48 is, remember, is that the company has a 2% charge for whenever we exercise that index feature. So that 848 is actually what? 648. Right, and that's credited after the company's insurance expenses, mortality costs, all that good stuff. The net might be closer to 5.5 every time we've done an actual IRR study on that. But it will give you more earnings potential. Current cap rate we see here, 12.5%. All right, I know that's a little bit small there. So that means if the market is booming, let's say S&P does 20% on 1 year, the max I'm going to get is 12.5%, which again, effectively would be 10.5% because of their 2% charge. Then I've got my guaranteed floor, current floor, it's the minimum guarantee of 4%. So if I have everything linked to the index, the market tanks, I would still get that guarantee. However, because I have my money linked to the index, guess what? 2% charge. I'm still getting the 4% guarantee. So what that means is my net, simple math, is 2%. So the only potential drawback really of this strategy is if I link everything into that, or any amount into the index, and the market does not perform. Any drawback to any market strategy. But where I would see the potential drawback is really on the guaranteed values, right? If I compare those guaranteed values from a basic dividend illustration compared to the indexed illustration, purely focusing on the guarantees, I will see it much stronger in the basic dividend. Where the upside is let's put plan 1, the dividend option. So red is dividend here. In red, and cash value at 865. So this is going to be 30 years down the road. Sorry, I just goofed that up on you. Red, we'll make that the index. Age 65. I'll write this over here too because I know this is small. Index strategy. Here's what the projection shows. 608,000. Right now, when I take my basic dividend rate, pay the same amount of money in over 5 years, 150K, age 65, this is just the dividend, 444,000. Neither of which are guaranteed. Right? Difference here is obviously indexing, linking it to the market gives me more potential. That's a no-brainer, right? But the dividend, we consider more of a sure bet, fixed, know what I'm going to get account. That dividend can fluctuate up and down as well. That's why we always look at the guarantees. We want to look at that. But indexing, again, will give me more potential there. One thing we can look at that's interesting here, let's copy. And let's do a 50-50. Meaning we're going to link 50% of our money to the index, and the other 50% 50% to the dividend, and let's see the difference. All right, so rather than go back and forth here, all right, guys, let's do this. All right, so what do we got? That's all I need. So age 65, dividend option. What do we got? $444,000 in cash. Direct comparison for you guys. Let's go 50% dividend / index. Age 65, 507. And then 100% indexing. What do we got? You might remember this. 608. Right, so it is going to give us more potential on earnings, but it's something we can move up and down over the years. It's not something we just want to set it and forget it. And that's what we do, obviously, for everyone. So hopefully this helps. The index feature grants you more potential, but we still have the option to select the dividend whenever we want.